All right, you go first then, T. What do you think about ZywOo?
I think ZywOo is mechanically like one of the most polished people I've watched maybe ever, in terms of the way he moves, the way he places his crosshair, the way he like reacts to, like, say, getting a pop flash, having to 180 turn back around, his crosshair's exactly where it was 180 degrees ago. Like, it's ridiculous how good he is just mechanically. The thing I think that limits him compared to like a Simple is that he doesn't have enough of that, firstly, that killer mentality to just in every single series go off, do what he has to do, drag him home. I think I looked it up. His performances in best of fives are average, like, for a guy primary AWPing in 2021. Like, he puts up numbers that are just, and I get it, we're not talking about numbers here, but still, at the end of the day, kills win games. Basically,
Encash, just start with your thoughts. What do you think of ZywOo?
Yeah, I was going to build off his thoughts. Could you just give me a refresh on what you said, because I missed like the last little bit?
It was mainly like he's super polished, like his mechanics basically, like, you know, if he does a 180, if he turns back, he's always on the exact same spot. But then he also had as a criticism, he said, if you're ever looking like best of five, sometimes his AWPing, like, the numbers aren't as crazy as you'd expect, or obviously everyone wants him to be like the best possible player at all times. So it was a bit general.
Yeah, and he mentioned about the killer mentality, and I have to say I agree. That was definitely something I brought up on my piece as well. And the reason I brought that up was when I was looking at the heat max of the fragging, and obviously like this was just a one tournament sample size, so I don't want to like make like a super broad generalization, but I think it is indicative of something, is that Simple is willing to, like, it's not like ZywOo is very orthodox. Like, he'll be in the textbook position, he'll get you the one or two like kills like from that position that you expect, but like he's not really gonna take like as many risks as like, whereas like Simple, like I feel like we mentioned about like his past and like different teams, like he's willing to like go out of position to make or break the round, and he's willing to put that responsibility on himself. And I think that some of that might also be like some like I mentioned in that psychology book, it talked about this concept about humans being more loss averse than they are favorable towards gains, as in like me gaining $10 doesn't make me feel as good as I feel bad when I lose those $10.
Oh, of course.
So like you said, like that mentality is like, it's obviously like just a more general point, and not every human will be that way. So like I feel like Simple has definitely wired his brain in a way where like he's willing to take that risk. He doesn't worry about like if the round loses on him. I remember versus Ensign, one of those majors where he everyone critiqued him. He's like, oh, he lost like the final round, but he got a 3K to put him in a position to almost win the game, go to the finals. But or I think. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, it was kind of it, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was what I was remembering. But it's so in that sense, like ZywOo is very different. And then also, it might also be a product of the circumstances that ZywOo is put in. Like you mentioned, you guys have mentioned in the past that he came into a team with a ton of veterans who could show him the proper textbook way to play. And like while that is great and all said and done, but like at the end of the day, if you play textbook, you're gonna live and die by the team. Whereas like when you're a talent like Simple and ZywOo, I feel like you'd rather, while you want to live and die by the team, at the end of the day, I'd rather live and die by that player's individual brilliance, like as much as I can force it to be in that way.
Sure. I'd even say if you look at great sports stars, that's basically it. Like, there might be a period where they just play team ball or whatever, you know, but like the great players, eventually, like it's the other way around, like the team has to sort of warp to what your skills are, because if you're so outrageously good, like the famous example would actually be if you do the Messi Ronaldo example. I don't think people are actually aware. Ronaldo technically is like a fucking winger. Like, it's just that he's so absurdly good. He just basically became a striker and just shaped the whole game around. Just everyone, basically, this is what I'm going to do in the game. I'll do whatever I want. And everyone just fit around me, sort of. So yeah, I think there's definitely some of that going on. And obviously, listen, that's where I give ZywOo actually a massive pass, because he's so young in his career still. You know, he hasn't got the experience. Simple, basically all those years of going through the trials and tribute, he didn't even have to do that yet. You know, he's still waiting for that period. I thought one thing I would say, by the way, is I definitely agree, T. The main thing I think of, the first word when I think of ZywOo, it's what's incredible, is polish. Like, I cannot believe, I still don't get it, because I was watching at the beginning of 2019 when he really came in the scene. Technically, it was like late 2018 or whatever, but when the team got good. And like, when you watch him, You know what's funny is everyone will know this story that he could have been in French teams before, but A, he was like doing school, but then B, they all thought he cheated. That's real, by the way. All of them did. They all claim now they didn't, like, oh, it's just existence and shocks. Like, motherfucker, it was all of you. But they just hadn't made the mistake of saying it publicly. And the real thing is this: everyone assumes when you say that you're doing some like config type aim, and it's like, oh, it's just aim button. No, I would think he was cheating myself because I watched a few of those clips. Because it's like some of the clutches he's winning. It's like, and this is a 16-year-old. Like, fuck off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way he's like, he's reading our brains where we are. But then I've seen him do it to pro playing again. It's like I say, it was simple. If you actually believe the top pros cheat, understand these guys are the biggest gangsters since Flusher because they're cheating every single round. Like, logically, if you believe they're cheating, they're actually doing it every round. They're not even just waiting like the one clutch round and doing it. They're just abusing it all the time. So, listen, if you can ever break that case, by the way, you'll be the biggest fucking hero of all time in CS. It's just like, yes, I suspect, you know, what the odds are all doing it. So, to me, the angle of like his poise, this is the other thing. Mate, when you're normally in clutches, even good players sometimes play like up-tempo in clutches. Maybe they have good aim, so they try to take the peaks, you know. Maybe they play super, super conservative and they, you know, like Cold Zero, they make you, they take their fight on their terms every time. ZywOo just plays in the middle somehow, and the pace he goes at when he's in the clutch just doesn't make sense to me, mate. Like, he never seems rushed, but he's never too slow to get there. He sometimes somehow gets people. This is something crazy I've noticed about the really great players. Every pro player says they don't see the name and they try to think it's just another player. People, no joke, when they play against ZywOo, it's like, you know the term from like Dota and League of Legends of like int, like the idea you intentionally feed, essentially. Like, you almost do a play that looks like you're being an idiot, you know, like, what the fuck are you doing that for? Dude, it's like these people look like they're trying to die to ZywOo. Like, the way they rush him in a 1v2 or something just looks like, holy shit, you're just setting him up to get this mid-range AWP kill. But the point is, in that scenario, dude, I think no joke, they realise they're 1v2 against him and their brain just short circuits and then they just run like fucking monkeys in, almost like, what are you doing? Like, and dude, that's almost like a skill in itself, you know, because basically I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's just mind gaming him or fucking, but it's almost like it looks easy for him. It looks like, I'd love to get these fucking 1v2s where the guys, you know, they don't like peek on me on two angles, they don't go together and peek. It's like they really do go one by one in some way, or one guy just jumps out and you get to kill him for free in the air. Like, it's almost like he can mind control him for real.
It's very reminiscent of like Zipnix and Get Right. Like Zipnix throughout most of his career and Get Right back in his prime, when like it felt like they would win clutches that like they necessarily like wouldn't need or wouldn't be in best position to. And some of it would be predicated off of the opponent making their mistake, off of just the reputation of the opponent that they were facing.
Yeah, I think the way I was just thinking about it, it sounds almost like it's like he's the Terminator and it's fight or flight, and everyone picks one of them, but there's never talking to each other as which one, because they're just too panicked. They're just like, we have to make a decision, make it quick, and it's typically when you make decisions rushed like that and you don't talk, you're going to make the wrong one, inevitably.
Sure. Yeah, I think the other thing as well for me is my real problem is this. The problem is I've got like all the control groups I need for Simple. He's been in so many different teams, lineups, and different players and game leaders, coaching changes. Like, he's had so much of a varied, even bloody played in North America when he's like barely speaking English. Like, he's had so many different scenarios he's been placed in. It's like, I can just sort of be like, look, gun to my head, I'd pick this guy every time to be the guy to play for me in a game, you know, to win me the game. The only problem I have with ZywOo is this: even though now they have like reinvented Vitality a few times, basically it's only him and Apex and the coach left. So they have sort of like rebuilt it a few different ways. The problem is, because he did come in with those super veteran players, every player he was playing with, except Alex Biss, he was a veteran player of like, sometimes even they were playing bloody Source at the top. Like, that's how long they were playing. That if you come into that scenario and you already are a smart player with polished skills, nice mechanics, like, you actually should basically instantly become one of the best standard players. It makes perfect sense. Like, what those guys are going to do, especially because, by the way, they don't have your skills, they're just going to teach you things like, this is how you correctly play this angle, or here's what I want you to do to play off me when I push out like this. Like, in a way, he's actually had like the opposite education to Simple, because Simple's education was just like, you're in elo hell, you have to just hit every AWP shot to get out of it, which is like, in a way, it's cool. Like, listen, there's plenty of people who've died in that low elbow the win. You never saw them again. But in a way, that's cool. But I think they're almost coming from opposite sides, because now it feels like Simple's trying to make himself more polished, and he's trying to know when to go aggressive, and he's trying to sometimes, believe it or not, let a teammate do something, because they're not all just worth it, nothing whatsoever, or fucking damn idiots anymore. Believe it or not, some of them are actually pretty good now. So that's what I'm interested for. What I want to see, and it sounds so cruel, because you should never wish this on anyone. I'm sorry, ZywOo. I just want to see, mate, when you get on the team that fucking sucks. I want to see when you get that teammate who used to be good and he's really shit now, or the IGL just loses his damn mind, goes downhill. Like, because in that scenario, like, it's not that you have to do simple things. I'd just like to see what would happen. I'd just like to see, like, maybe I'm wrong, by the way. Maybe actually some more of it comes from him. Maybe he's the one sort of just like a sponge picking things up, and he'll figure it out. But I can't know till I throw you in the deep water, as it were.
Mm-hmm. To add on to your point about Vitality's circumstances, another thing that really goes underappreciated is like the coaching presence that they've had.
Sure.
Like for a new player to come in, like you have RPK, who's a phenomenal like anchor. He's willing to like take the bitch roles on sites, and then you have a coach who, at this point, it's clear like he has to be one up there in contention for like one of the best coaches in the game. Like you have to put his name up there. Like the way he's taken those roster changes, you saw a clear dip in performance, and then they come out looking so as well, and with clear improvements that they had over the last couple of months. Like having a coach like that has definitely like is a good transitionary piece for like someone like ZywOo coming into like a new lineup like that.
Sure. Do you have any final thoughts on ZywOo here, T, before we go?
I just want to quickly throw in, if anyone ever watched him back when he wasn't against all authority, the little French team that he spent his weekends on, essentially, the clutch, poise, whatever, that side of his brain was already there. And you saw it time and time and again. And it was just one of those players you watch in tier 2, you go, yeah, that's a sure thing. That's a sure thing. You just call it now. He's going to step up, and he's going to be at minimum very good. And he turns out he was outstanding, arguably second best we've ever seen.
Yeah, if people don't know, there actually are like frag moves. I think they're on his YouTube channel now, with the one that he definitely doesn't manage, and that people pretend like, hi guys, my name, like, come on, mate, like, that's not you, but okay. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.